Hi, and welcome to the backstage. Actually, this is the makeup and costume room in the backstage of the Garden Theater. This week we're talking about the Middle Ages, or theater in the Middle Ages. But before we go too far down that track, and the thing I love about the crash course is they really focus on each of the different periods of theater. But what I want you to think about a little bit as we go forward, I've included a short video, kind of fun, about the early Middle Ages into the dark, what we call the Dark Ages, early Middle Ages through the Middle Ages, and that time period between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance. And so, as we go forward, I'm always going to remind you there are things that have affected the way that we see theater, the way that we produce theater, that come from specific time periods. Sometimes we don't even really know where they come from. But in the Middle Ages period of time, we have this vacuum of power, right? We had the Roman Empire that had colonized a lot of Western Europe, okay? So that's what has crumbled. There are wars with all sorts of people, and this is not a Western civilization, so you're not class, so you're not going to get quizzed on that. But I always come back to the fact that theater is a product of the community or the group of people from whom it's generated. And what we start to see is how those things change, how they're affected, and how we move forward. So in this period of time, keep in mind that the Roman Empire has fallen, and much of Western Europe is kind of in disarray. So when you think about the clans in Scotland and Ireland, really, and lots of other places, there's no centralized government anymore. So the most natural thing is the largest power, which at this time would have been the church because it was sanctioned by Charlemagne to become the Holy Roman Empire, etc. That becomes the safe place. Churches at that time were built with a cathedral and a wall around. So if you're going to be attacked by marauding people, what you've got is a place that you can go inside and be protected. The reason they call it the Dark Ages is because from the point of view of literature and things like that, not a lot, we don't see a lot that comes out of that period of 1,000 years that has names on it. But things were happening. And so when the church fills in that gap, that's where our theater is going to come from. In addition, you've got largely your population, except for the nobles, you've got a very striated society, you've got your king, you've got your nobles, and then the rest of us. And in that striated society, most of the rest of us couldn't read or write. So going to church and they're chanting in Latin, we don't know what they're saying, but we're here, was a very different experience. And I think that's what helped the priests at that time take over that position and say, let's see if we can make this a little bit more than just chanting at people. So as you go forward and look at these things that we're going to talk about through Crash Course and through the chapter, think about the things that affect your culture today. The very end of this period of time, we start talking about the plague, and the plague happened for 200 years after that. And we're still saying, okay, COVID's not going anywhere. How do we do theater? So if any of you can come up and see the show that we're doing at the Winter Garden Theater, that would be great. Some of the things that are interesting about this show, it is done with projections, and that's a relatively new addition to our setting and design stuff, but that's a whole other area of design that has coming to the forefront. How do we change scenes? How do we make it so quick between things? And part of that is using projections. So anyway, enjoy the chapter, enjoy the videos, and I'll catch you on the other side.